This is news on Good News Catholic Communications. I am Betty Ann Lazarus. In the headlines, the diocese is working with stakeholders in bringing the situation at Catholic-managed senior homes under control. Vicar General Father Carl Haynes says Grenada needs all hands on deck and calls on nationals to quit with the blame game. Healthy diet and boosting immunity are key factors in the fight against the virus, says Mrs. Lydia Brown of the Grenada Food and Nutrition Council. Details to these and more when we return.
Home is easy as 1, 2, 3.
Thinking about your new home? Think easy. Think a Republic Bank Home Easy Loan. Think affordable. Think convenience. Think Republic.
Home is easy as 1, 2, 3. Republic makes home easy.
Wow, that was such a breeze.
Own your home with ease.
So whether laying that first brick or purchasing an existing home, we've got you covered. Republic Bank will get you those keys hassle-free in no time.
Home is easy as 1, 2, 3.
Drop by any one of our 8 locations today. Getting your new home is easy with Republic Bank.
Republic Bank. We're the one for you.
Welcome back. Bishop of the Diocese of St. George's in Grenada, Bishop Clyde Harvey, has heaped praise on the committed staff at a number of senior homes managed by the Diocese of St. George's in Grenada. In response to the current challenges facing senior care homes, Bishop Harvey pointed out that the demand by relatives to be in contact with their loved ones, even in the midst of the pandemic, has also contributed to the current situation where a number of deaths were recorded. Our news team was given an update on the situation on Wednesday.
We really have some wonderful people working in the home. Those who have remained faithful. And we have 3 homes, and this is something that people forget. Hilarion is not the only home that we have. We have 3 homes. One of them has been really in great shape. St. Martin's home. The home at Hillview in Guave is struggling, but there is no major problem right now. We think that is under control. But as almost all Grenada now knows, Hilarion is in serious difficulty. And my first responsibility is to bring that under control. So we're working with a team to seek to know what can happen there. The Ministry of Health has been collaborating with us, and the Ministry of Social Development as well. The Desk for the Elderly, which is really headed by somebody who's very engaged herself. So it's a good team on top of it. And we hope that in the next few days to really get it under control and have a clear policy going forward.
In spite of it all, according to Bishop Harvey, the commitment of the staff must be commended.
The people who work in the homes and who have remained faithful to the homes, we owe them a tremendous debt of gratitude. It's a mix. It's a mix of people who the church employs, the imanis whom the government sends, and that's making demands which are not easy to meet. So I have tremendous respect, and I dare say even affection, for the people who run the homes, the managers. The committees are there, yes, but they are one step away from the hands-on thing. And what these few days of tension and, I dare say, tragedy have really tested the management group a lot. The person at Hilarion is really having a rough time. So we hope we can help to calm that.
The diocese at this time would welcome assistance from persons who are vaccinated and have a sense of caring for others, according to Bishop Harvey.
I ask everybody to pray for them and to help in any way you can. I think the symbol of COVID-19 is lockdown. And you can lock down and lock up, you know, in the sense that you close yourself away from everything that's going on. And all you're concerned about is keeping yourself safe. But there's a lot to be done out there, even as we try to turn this thing around. And I want to appeal to all Catholics to think about what they might do. Some will dip into their pockets and make a donation, but you might be able to offer your services if you're doubly vaccinated and you're COVID-free, and especially if you're young and can deal with it. Offer your services somewhere, somehow, you know. And let's see how together, as church and country, we can bring it under control.
With regards to the current crisis, all mitigating measures will be strictly adhered to, and the understanding of all concerned is anticipated.
No, we have to go back to strict regulations for all the homes. And I hope people understand that. If some people are saying, oh, you know, I want to see my relative, I want to make sure they're all right. If you want to see your relative, you have to make sure that you're willing to pay that price. And I make no apologies for saying that. But insofar as they are in a home and living with other people, you have to abide by the rules of the people who are trying to keep them safe and keep the other people safe. And this is what I would appeal for. Let's stop all this speculation. Let's stop all this arguing about this. Let us get down to the task of beating COVID-19. And that's why I still say the acronym from COVID means a lot to me. Christ, our victory in distress and disease, and you could even add in death. COVID. That's how we as Christians have to spell COVID. Christ, our victory in disease and distress.
Executive Secretary at the Grenada Food and Nutrition Council, Mrs. Lydia Brown, is supporting calls for residents to pay more attention to their lifestyle and diet while doing everything possible to boost their immune system. This as Grenada grapples with a spike in COVID-19 cases and an increase in the number of COVID-related deaths. Mrs. Brown is advising nationals to pay attention to their diets.
Now, we have particular nutrients that are of importance to the immune system. Not that all foods and all nutrients would not help, but we're particularly looking at all vitamins like vitamin A and E and C. And these vitamins are known as antioxidants. And antioxidants are substances that will help to prevent damage to body cells and so, right? And so utilizing of foods that can help to prevent that inflammatory process is important. So we get our vitamin A from our foods that are brightly colored. So pumpkins or tomatoes that has good source of lycopene, and you know, or oranges or papaya and these types of food, mangoes, which we have some on the market right now, we would get some vitamin A from these foods. But we will also need some vitamin C. Cherries, we have some cherries in now, at least I have some cherries in now. And usually what I would do is just blend the cherries and get the juice out of it. Or if you have a juice extractor, it's even better that you're able to get the pure cherry juice. But we tend to boil the cherries and to make the juice. Some people do that. And so when you're doing that, you're actually killing a lot of your vitamin C. And our West Indian cherries are one of the highest sources of vitamin C that you can find around. Also our guavas, I've seen a couple guavas on a few trees. So guavas are also an excellent source of vitamin C. From a lot of our green leafy vegetables, we get iron, which can help to enrich our blood. We need that vitamin C. Plant-based sources of iron so that our body can actually utilize the iron that we're getting from those foods.
The nutritionist indicated that the Grenada Food and Nutrition Council avails itself for guidance based on underlying conditions, but stressed the relevance of ensuring daily intake of key nutrients.
Look at how we are combining foods as well. Get a lot of from our nuts and our resources from nutrients from our legumes, our beans and peas, be it lentil, black eyed peas, pigeon peas, black beans, kidney beans, whatever type of beans that is also important for us to help to get the nutrients that we need to support our immune system. We're looking at our vitamin D. And vitamin D we get from some foods, but the foods may not be as rich. You can use cod liver oil or some fatty fishes like tuna. We don't have salmon here that's at a price that most of us can buy, but we have tuna that we can use. We have, if we have fresh mackerel or things like sardines that would have that type of the vitamin D in there. Eggs are also a good source. Milk, you would get some from milk is fortified with vitamin D. But we have to bear in mind as well that we have something else that is in abundance, that where we can get our vitamin D, the sunshine. But how many of us actually go out in the sunshine during the day? And we only need about 15 or 20 minutes out there. But we have to bear in mind also that if you're darker complexion, you may need a little more time. And if you're overweight or obese, you may need a little more time because your body will need a lot more in order to. Allicin, that's a substance in garlic that is very good in terms of helping the immune system, especially when the garlic is crushed or when it's cut. You get more out of it. You also have properties from ginger that is also good in helping fighting inflammation. Turmeric, what we usually say saffron, but it's turmeric, right? That also has that anti-inflammatory effect.
All things in moderation is the watchword, and the GFNC is also cautioning against an overkill.
But on the other hand, things like ginger and garlic, and even the omega-3 pills that we buy to help give us some heart healthy fat, these things are natural blood thinners. So we really have to be mindful as to how much of it. As Grenadian by book, have to use a particular thing. If they told us we can use 2, and that 2 is good, we're not going to use 2. We're going to use a few more because more is always better. If we have to draw a cup of tea using a herb, we wouldn't just draw the tea, get hot water and pour it on the leaves. We will boil the leaves because we need to get everything out of the leaf. And a lot of these things, we really don't know the exact science of how much is sufficient. So when we do things like that, we may be getting properties out that is a little more than we should be getting. And I think that a good way that we can practice moderation is by reflecting on the food-based dietary guidelines that was created for Grenadians, by Grenadians, looking at our health system and seeing some of the gaps and seeing where we can fill those gaps by allowing and advising people to eat certain foods in certain proportions. And some of the proportions are our dry beans and peas that has been increased, or vegetables that has been increased as well. We also can include our provision foods, but not as much as we do it as our vegetable foods. Because we know that persons that come in contact with coronavirus, particularly those that have underlying health issues, and it could be diabetes, it could be high blood pressure, I don't know what the underlying diseases are that they have. So it's important for persons to make sure that they're eating, listening to the health practitioners, maybe contacting persons, a nutritionist, a doctor, to find out what they can do, especially if they're home.
Suggestions were also offered relevant to the care of the elderly in light of the crisis.
Very passionate about the geriatric population because I've worked with them for a number of years. And when people get ill, just like with infants, when they get ill, it's very easy for them to lose their appetite. And it's very easy for them to lose weight. So it's important, and I was speaking to someone regarding one of the homes last night, and we're advising that if the people cannot eat, don't try to give them solid food. You can give them the food, but give them in a liquid form where it's easy to drink because it takes energy to chew. And if you don't have energy to chew, and remember that with the coronavirus, one of the things that was indicated is the taste. So the taste gets affected. So whatever you give them, they may not feel apt to take in. So we can make things like a callaloo soup, and we can, if we have some meat in there, some chicken or something in there, we can put it in. But we can also put something like sweet potatoes that will give a little taste to that callaloo soup. We can put our coconut milk, which is going to add some fat, calories, and we can blend this. And when we blend it, then it's smooth and easy for them to drink. And don't expect them to drink a full cup or a full bowl at one sitting. It will take time and it will take patience, that they might have to take small cups at a time, but throughout the day, if we increase the amount of calories in that food by adding healthy fats to it, they will eventually take in sufficient. We have avocados on the market now. We can use avocados to make shakes, and so to give them to drink. So they get some healthy fat, they get a lot of calories from the avocado, and so they're able to concentrate on the soups, but you may have to blend it so that it's in a consistency that is smooth and easy, that all they have to do is swallow. Because swallow is a natural reflex, right? And if they're not swallowing, it's just stimulating by giving them a little nudge to the throat will stimulate them to give that swallow.
As Grenada battles with the increase in COVID-19 cases and the rising number of COVID-related deaths, Vicar General Father Carl Haynes is appealing for nationals to quit with the blame game and to get on board in taking back control of the situation. The call was made on Wednesday during the celebration of Holy Mass as the Universal Church celebrated the Feast of Our Lady of Sorrows. Reflecting on the sorrows of Our Lady and connecting it to the current situation in Grenada and the world, Father Carl Haynes reminded nationals that the blame game would not help us at this time.
So, as we go through the suffering of the nation, now is not the time for us to play blame game. But all of us as a people, as a nation, must take responsibility for our own actions. Let us not point fingers and say, well, it's this one or that one. That adds nothing to easing the pain and the suffering of others. Because while we are pointing fingers, while we are blaming others, while as a people we blaming the authorities, while the authorities is blaming the people, there are people suffering. There are lives being lost. And I think as a nation, as a people, what we need is honesty and truthfulness. Honesty and truthfulness to help each and every one of us to get a grasp of the situation and to help those with the power to fix or to address it, to do it.
Father Haynes urged residents to take responsibility for their own lives and those around them.
And so as a people, as a nation, as we battle COVID-19, let us together turn to God, who has the power to heal, who has the power to save. And let us not just turn to God in a blind way. You know, sometimes we say, okay, this is happening, let us pray. And we pray and we do nothing. But prayer must be accompanied by actions and good works. So as we turn to God in prayer, let us do all that we can as a people to ensure we minimize the spread of COVID-19. Save us, O Lord, in your steadfast love. In you, O Lord, I take refuge. Let me not be put to shame.
Father Gabriel Obi Osang on Tuesday celebrated his second anniversary of priestly ordination. Father Gabriel Obi Osang was ordained on September 14, 2019. His anniversary coincides with the Church's observance of the Feast of the Exaltation of the Holy Cross of Jesus. We join with the rest of the diocese in congratulating Father Gabriel Obi Osang and in praying for divine guidance for many more years of priestly service. The Diocese of St. George's in Grenada continues its focus on mental health and awareness as one mandate coming out of the 2020 Diocesan Pastoral Congress. As well, health officials continue to stress the need for persons to pay attention to stress signals and to take the necessary personal care. In light of increasing tension and anxiety pertinent to the current situation is the need for self-care, according to psychiatrist and social worker Meryl Marichou.
Mental health is really important, and we have to pay attention to what is happening to ourselves. I can't stress that enough. And take the time for ourselves. It's about self-care too. Because if we don't engage in self-care, if you don't take the time to pay attention to what's happening to you and to address the situation when you notice that things are unfolding, changes are happening that are not good changes, if you don't take the time to pay attention to that, then and you lose your mental health, then everything is affected. Your relationships with people, your job could be in jeopardy, your own physical health begins to deteriorate, because when we're ill mentally, it shows up on us in different ways. We need to try and do the things that would help us to manage the situation. So whatever we can control, then we do that. We can't control how the virus is going outside there, but we can control wearing our masks, the things that we need to do to keep ourselves safe and to keep our family safe. So that's the first thing. And try to have a positive outlook. I know it could be difficult, but tell yourself this must come to an end. Tell yourself, look for the things that are happening that you're glad about. And at the end of every day, once you're back home safely, give thanks for that and say, well, I got through another day. So you look at it in that kind of positive way.
Moving on now, one of Grenada's chief crops, cocoa, is emerging as one of the bright spots for Grenada economy in 2021. Cocoa production was extremely strong in the first half of 2021, increasing by 35.3%, the highest it has been for this period since 2016, as reported in the 2021 Mid-Year Economic Review and Estimate 2021 performance prepared by the Ministry of Finance, Economic Development, Physical Development and Energy. This reflects a recovery that began after the cocoa industry was destroyed by Hurricane Ivan 17 years ago. According to the chairman of the Grenada Cocoa Association, Pastor Christopher Williams, this reflects a steady replanting program. The two main factors listed for the increase in production were favorable weather conditions and a 10-cent per pound price increase for wet cocoa. While drought conditions in 2020 impacted production, Mr. Christopher Williams noted that more people seem to be favoring the cultivation of cocoa and more young farmers are coming on board. The mid-year review reports the price of cocoa increased to $4 per pound, the highest price recorded since 2014. This reflects the 10-cent increase for wet cocoa. These developments have led to an increased interest by farmers in cocoa production. This reflects the 10% increase for wet cocoa. The developments have led to an increased interest by farmers in cocoa production. Some good news on the horizon. A recap of the headlines when we return. And now for a recap of the headlines. The diocese is working with stakeholders in bringing the situation at Catholic-managed senior homes under control. Vicar General Father Carl Haynes says Grenada needs all hands on deck and calls on nationals to quit with the blame game. Healthy diet and boosting immunity are key factors in the fight against the virus, says Lydia Brown of the Grenada Food and Nutrition Council. On behalf of all those who made this newscast possible, I'm Betty and Lazarus. Thanks for staying with us.